ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, one and all, to Video Games with Caleb Harvey. It's me, the podcast where it's me, Caleb Harvey, and we're going to talk about all the spicy news of video games, hardware, software, video games themselves, which would lie in with software, I suppose. Anyway, yes, well, this is a special episode, isn't it? Last episode was the Valve hardware and getting all excited for that, especially me. And now we're going to be talking about the PlayStation State of Play 2026. And this definitely made my week. I think it did. Like the Valve hardware did make my week last week. State of Play was something special. I personally, out of the get-go, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 because of just it catered to a lot of different fan groups and just in general, just a lot of good games that are coming out. This State of Play definitely made me realize how exciting 2026 is actually going to be for video games in general. I did write down all of it, but I guess we'll just start from the top to bottom because I could really start out with anything. I could go by the order of how the State of Play went, but you know what? I'm just going to say screw it. I'm just going to go from the top down on my list that I have with me right here on my good old Supernote. Not sponsored, but Supernote, if you don't mind, I would love to get a sponsorship from you one day. I do love your devices. But anyway, Star Wars, to start off, Star Wars Galactic Racer. This is probably the best looking racing game I've ever seen so far. Granted, I should say that I am not a Star Wars fan whatsoever. I've never seen a Star Wars movie. I've seen clips of stuff. I definitely know about it. Everybody knows about Star Wars in one way or another, right? But I just don't care for Star Wars just because something about sci-fi in space or rather just doesn't really cater to me. I suppose I'm more of a medieval fantasy in general, or dark fantasy, like fantasy in general, I would say. Not necessarily a space kind of guy. I appreciate it every now and then, but Star Wars in particular, I just don't really care for it. But I do respect its place in media. I do respect it. And how Disney has treated it is really something. But Galactic Racer, definitely very, very exciting. I'll put some of the trailer footage for each of these games I'm excited for, and I'll be talking about in this episode on screen. It did show a little bit of, it hinted at a story mode with some characters interacting with each other. And who was the one that did who is doing Galactic Racer? Let me see. Apparently it is Fuse Games. And from what I could gather, it's actually their first game that they are developing, as well as the publisher for it. Let me go back here, is Secret Mode. And so as a publisher, they do have some lists, some games on their list as well. Most notably though, it looks like their big one that they're doing is Galactic Racer. So yeah, out of nowhere, just like, yeah, we're gonna do a Star Wars racing. And I think this is not the first Star Wars racing game though. I believe the one Star Wars racing game that I do keep in mind is that's right, it was the Pod Racer games, Episode 1 Racer. Yeah, it was Nintendo 64. Yeah, I was thinking like GameCube era or something like that. Yeah, that makes sense. Like definitely 2000s, late 90s. So it's been a while since Star Wars fans got a racing game. Yeah, that's definitely, I'd say that's probably the second most surprising trailer to see out of all for like a returning IP for the gaming industry out of nowhere. Galactic Racer. We'll get to number one. I'd say number one next, but let's just jump into it. God of War remake trailer. Oh, my mix is moving. Sorry about that. God of War remake trailer. Okay, so apparently Sony comes in. I think it was the last announcement they had. Was the remake trilogy that they announced, and it would have, of course, it would be nice to how Ragnarok ended. Feels like it is a smart decision to go back to the original Kratos timeline and see how the series has come up so far. Kind of like almost like it's a recap. They're doing the remake trilogy as a recap. That's how I see it. And if that's the case, that's a very smart move. Instead of just like going straight to Atreus's game, because I speculate about if they're going to do an Atreus, like Son of War kind of title soon. And he's like 10 years. He's like in his 20s or 30s, and he's like actually honing in his Loki power and whatnot. And then Kratos is still doing his separate storyline. But I'm very glad that they decided to remake the God of War trilogy, even though that in this decade has been a rampant amount of remakes, more so than I'd say like in any decade so far. I think the 2020s has introduced a lot of remakes and reimaginings and remasters. Of course, there's been remasters over the decades, but in terms of remakes from the ground up, 2020s is definitely that's what it has to show for what the gaming industry has been kind of up to so far. But still, I think it was a really good decision for them to do it. And for TC to come in, the original voice actor for Kratos, to do it, I am so happy. And of course, he was like all grinning and smiling. He's so happy to do it. Nothing but praise and excitement for this. And out of nowhere, the second announcement being Sons of Sparta, as a Kratos prologue, because there was God of War Ascension, right, as a prologue to God of War 1, but now we get another prologue as Sons of Sparta, which is a Metroidvania of all things. It looks like it's kind of showing the trials of being a Spartan. I believe that's what Kratos was explaining, like in Ragnarok or God of War, that like to be a Spartan, you had to go through all these trials, and there was like a lot of training going on. So to explore that part of his life is very interesting. And perhaps maybe I know it was shadow dropped out of us all of a sudden too. Which was the other crazy thing. That was like the last thing they noted was, hey, here's a prologue and we're shadow dropping it like right now. I have yet to play it, but of course that's going to be a game that I have to play very, very soon. Either just before RE9 comes out in like 2 weeks or whatnot, but very soon I will play Sons of Sparta. And what I wonder how it's going to end is if it's going to introduce Kratos' wife and like eventually him becoming a kid, having was it not Clementine, Penelope, the Calliope, that's right. Calliope. And if that's going to be kind of a nice transition into God of War Ascension and then God of War 1, I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm sure plenty of people have played it and almost finished it by now. I'm sure there are plenty of gamers that are like that, and unfortunately, I'm not one of them. But Let me know down in the comments if you have finished it and what you think so far, without spoiling anything, of course. Yeah, please don't. But yeah, that is the top two: Star Wars Galactic Racer and God of War remake and Sons of Sparta. That's insane. Like, if they only did those two announcements and called it, that would still be like a good show. Yeah. But no, we still have more, ladies and gentlemen. We have next on my list is Beast of Reincarnation from none other than Game Freak. And I think it's been about a year since we saw it. I think it was around right after Expedition 33 released in May that we saw a trailer for it out of nowhere. Or maybe just before it got released. And but not by Nintendo, a Game Freak, and I believe it was a different publisher this time around. And I do have it. I'm gonna check this. I did save it to my wish list because I really wanted to see how this is gonna look like. August 3rd. Yeah, this is one of them. They're kind of relatively soon. We're still in first quarter, in the middle of February, but you know how time goes so far in this decade. Everybody complaining about how fast time moves. So August 3rd might as well be tomorrow, you know? Fictions is the publisher. And apparently they did a combo of Lego games, Lego Party, and Tales of the Shire, a little Hobbit game. And then, and then Beast of Reincarnation. It definitely, from the trailer, it reminds me of Stellar Blade and Nier, kind of like how everything is grotesque and kind of has sci-fi elements to it. And kind of, like floral evolution, like plant enemies, and like everything's overgrown. But there's a bunch of space equipment. Yeah, Beast of Reincarnation, an action RPG. So definitely keep an eye out. This might open some eyes for some people that think like, oh, Game Freak is the only Pokemon people, and they kind of sucked at it for quite a while, ever since like the Switch era. But I wonder if it's gonna have like very positive reviews or overwhelmingly positive reviews, and they're gonna try, and they're really trying something different with Beast of Reincarnation. And it's gonna be, it's gonna surprise a lot of people. If they do it just right, it's gonna surprise a lot of people of what they're actually capable of. And that's what I'm really hoping, that Game Freak is just an underutilized, that's the good word, underutilized developer. So that, yeah, I'm definitely keeping my eye out and my eyes peeled for August 4th, August 3rd. When that releases. Now, I'm going to bundle these two together for the next. I'm going to be talking about Castlevania and Metal Gear. Because Castlevania and Metal Gear are two franchises that I've yet to get into, but I really want to. For one, thanks to Shantae by WayForward, the WayForward team, that I'm a fan of the Metroidvania series, and I would love to go and check out Castlevania at some point. Castlevania Belmont's Curse being the new one that was showcased in the State of Play, and also showcasing that was the 40th anniversary, which is really crazy. Congratulations to the Castlevania team. Still going strong, looks like. And I did get, kind of in honor of it, I did go to my local game store, and they did have a DS copy of Portrait of Rose, something like that, from the DS, a DS title. And I do know the Advanced Collection was re-released for some modern consoles, but that's like, apparently the Advanced Collection, as in I presume Game Boy Advance Collection, goes for like in the triple digits to like $200+. So Apparently the Game Boy Advance games are something to care about. So yeah, I definitely want to get into Castlevania, try and get to Castlevania this year, for whatever I choose, along with Metal Gear. Metal Gear Solid is releasing their Master Collection Volume 2, which is Metal Gear Solid 4, along with a Game Boy Color game, Ghost Babel, and Peace Walker. I don't know, for some reason, looking at all of it, I was kind of just like finally like kind of biting the bullet, and I'm more inclined to play Metal Gear this year. More than I'd say like more than Castlevania or like Disgaea, a lot of the other franchises that I want to get into. I'm kind of more keen on to playing Metal Gear, and I really want to give more shooters a shot, if you will. No pun intended. I want to play a lot more shooters, really. I want to kind of take a break from a lot of the RPGs and try to branch out and play a lot more shooters, at least. And Metal Gear Solid, or the Metal Gear series, I've yet to get into, and I know a lot of people love it, and it's a long series. So what I would like to do ultimately is just play them chronologically and play all of them. Maybe I'll do that after Requiem, or maybe after Pragmata, like maybe after, like during the summer. But we'll see. Yeah, it was kind of, this is actually the first time, thanks to Master Collection Volume 2, that I see a Metal Gear game on the Game Boy Color, and a lot of niche titles that I've never heard of, kind of like Kingdom Hearts, doing a lot of different games for a lot of different systems. It's kind of reminding me of that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to Metal Gear Solid and the Metal Gear series this year. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at my list again. Mort. Okay, well, not Mort. It's called Project Windless, but oh my god. Looking at Project Windless was just so much. That was probably the most fun trailer out of all of them, just to see, like, not necessarily exciting, but just like, what the hell is going on? This is actually kind of cool. That is Project Windless, and oh my god. Yeah, it really reminded me of Black Myth Wukong. For a lot of, I suppose for a lot of like the enemy designs and the environments, and for how it looked. I believe it looked like a UE5 game, and it's only in development for next year. Yeah, so that's, I'm gonna have to look forward to that. Yeah, the chicken game of 2027. Let's look forward to it. And next on our list is a good old John Wick game coming out for PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. I was under the impression that it was a PS5 exclusive, but it was only a teaser though. So it was a lot of like, the trailer only had a lot of CGI and just like looking at how all the characters are moving and like how it would look like. But it was very fun to see Keanu Reeves show up in a video game again. I think ever since Cyberpunk 2077, everybody was freaking out over what was his name? Johnny Silverhand. That was the name of Cyberpunk 2077. John Wick is a series not the biggest fan. I have seen all 4 of them. I would have to rewatch like the first 2, but I definitely appreciate like the balls to the wall kind of gun fu shit that's happening in all those movies. So, and to see like come into a game is a very smart idea. I'm very excited for what that game has to offer in terms of how Keanu is moving. How John Wick moves. Hopefully this is gonna be like a good game that Keanu Reeves is in, and not like necessarily a failed at launch, kind of like how Cyberpunk was. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. That's very cool to see a John Wick game come to life now. But moving on to the last one that I wanted to talk about is Crimson Moon, which is kind of the oddball one, I'd say, out of the whole show, because it looked like a different IP. This is actually coming from developers known as Probably Monsters, which did develop Stormlancers and Ire a Prologue, which got mixed reviews. Stormlancers being an action roguelike, and Ire a Prologue being a psychological horror puzzle. So, and then now they're doing action RPG, dark fantasy, Crimson Moon. So it seems like they're an early, like kind of a developer that's still trying to get on their feet and see what they're really all about. What was that? Yeah, Crimson Moon really reminded me of Darkstalkers. For how kind of like how bulky everything looked, how medieval but gothic everything looked. Never played a Darkstalkers game, but also similar in gameplay style, being kind of like an action adventure. So yeah, Crimson Moon, one of those games you think is one IP, but it's actually the other, and it's actually from a completely different developer that you've never heard of. We'll have to see what this one's up to. There's no release date, so it might be 2027 for all we know. We'll have to keep our eyes out. Oh yeah, and then, I do have to talk about this, don't I? Silent Hill Townfall. We got a new Silent Hill that's not a showcase of Silent Hill 1 remake. Because to remind you all, we do have a teaser, not a trailer teaser, but we did get a sort of like title drop of like, hey, we're remaking Silent Hill 1, like that kind of trailer. But seeing Silent Hill Townfall so soon after Silent Hill F was very crazy. Like Konami just like kind of taking center stage in State of Play was very kind of wild. Like they got new leadership and they're just like making a bunch of projects, and it's actually exciting. So yeah, I am a fan of Silent Hill F. I've played some of Silent Hill 1 original. I know they did do the HD remasters, which was not very well received, kind of mixed because of how one of those remasters of how they kind of blended in the textures and whatnot, like kind of a lot of technical issues. Oh, and also, no, this is probably the biggest like big sad disappointment that we didn't get a Final Fantasy VII Part 3 title drop or any Part 3 anything. We didn't get anything for Final Fantasy VII Remake, but that just means we'll just have to wait for Summer Games Fest or maybe Gamescom, because we know that they did get the title ready, and we know that it's gonna be like 2027, or I don't think it's gonna be 2028. That's just gonna, yeah, I think it's gonna be 2027 summer at the latest, because they're really hamming it up that they're like almost ready. They're just like polishing it up now. That's why it was kind of a disappointment to see it not showcased in State of Play of all things. And another thing was to see if they're going to title drop it for all consoles and not just have it be a PS5 release. And that's also going to be something we'll have to keep our eyes on. But all in all, that's all I have to really say about the State of Play 2026. That was definitely one of my favorite shows out of the year so far. And we'll just have to see what Xbox has to show. And I think Nintendo already did its partner direct, which is kind of like a nothing burger. So it was great to see Sony's State of Play doing something really cool. To end off this episode, we're at 30 minutes, but I do want to end off this episode because it is the lunar year, the year of the horse. I wanted to showcase a lot of the special events and do a lot of like discounts of events just as a part of the show. There's a lot of there's id's 35th anniversary. There's a developer sale. There was a romantic romance and visual novel sale, 2K publisher sales going on. There's a lot of Koei Tecmo sales. And of course, we have Konami. We have the PlayStation sale. And we have the Capcom sale. We have the Dark Souls sale. We have a lot going on here, folks. So definitely check it out. We have a Bethesda sale going on. So check it out. Check out your wish lists, see what's going on, and see what games you've been looking forward to that are on a discounted sale. Because a lot of it's going to be going on until the 23rd of the last week of February. So get it while supplies last, or until, well, the prices go up again. God forbid. But anyway, that's it for me, folks. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and perhaps next week, maybe I'll do that 13 Sentinels episode, But anyway, this is Caleb signing out. Have a great evening, morning, midday, wherever you are. Keep on gaming, keep on trucking, keep on bucking.